everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Scribbles with Jonathan. I'm your host, Jonathan Rector. Spawn, look at that. What I'm doing today is I'm going to show you the first couple videos that I did. It was my gesture drawings that I like to do in the morning to warm up. What this is another type of that I like to do. And what I do is I go over to my comic rack and I randomly grab a comic. And today I was lucky enough to grab Spawn, drawn by the great and magnificent Greg Capullo. Hopefully I said the last name right. But yeah, so it's very similar to what I was doing with the gestures before, except these ones I try to go quick and just maybe I take a little bit more time into the thinking process behind it as opposed to like 30-second gestures. And you'll see as I go along here how quick I do go, and it's a little bit different than how I normally do my structures of doing life drawing. More triangular shapes, round shapes, things like that. Just trying to get mostly with this stuff, it's dynamic, and the best part is sometimes you can't get that from life. So what you have to do is you have to go and find other sources, whether it's in anime, cartoons, movies, and in my case, comic books. You get some really good dynamic things. So I'll just quickly go over what I do. So I'll randomly grab a comic off the shelf or a trade paperback, whatever you got, manga. Just grab whatever you have. Magazine, if that's the worst case scenario you got to do. And then I start from the cover. Sometimes I'll just grab a random page in the middle and go from there. So right here, I wish I had shown you guys what the drawing looked like before, but it doesn't matter. You're not looking to get it 100% accurate. You're just trying to get some of the lines down. What I find that it does is it makes you more quicker in drawing actual perspectives and shapes of the lines that are used to create the form itself, and it also adds to your catalog in your head of different poses that you could use. Everybody comes up with different ideas of, like in this case, this guy's supposed to be, well, in the comic anyway, he was a hunched over vampire, and we all know how a hunched over vampire looks to us in our mind if we had to draw it right now. And that's half the beauty of doing this stuff. I get to see some of the lines that this guy chose, like especially right here with his legs. As opposed to turning the foot out, he curves it in a bit. I know a lot of Japanese animation and cartoons like to do that, especially like if you look at those legs right now. This could have been a zombie very well standing up or anything, right? And it's again things you're just going to throw in your catalog in your head. And using very simple tube shapes again. The tube shapes I'm using, they're not straight cylinders and circles. I do recommend if you're new to this anyway, there's much better, more people that could teach you better to spend your time looking at and learning. But if you are looking at this and this is your first time doing these things, if it's a cylinder like for a bicep or a forearm, I would recommend keeping them kind of straight, just so you can put it together in your head. If you can look at the picture on the right here of the vampire that was crouching over, those are questionably straight, and there's a lot of bend into it. The reason you do that is to get a little bit of energy and life into it, and once you start getting more accustomed to actually how the figure works and things like that, you can start getting a little bit more crazy with these lines, and then you start putting muscle and thing over like that or that. I'll usually do this for maybe 5-10 minutes. It does work out for what I'm doing right now. Again, I just thought I'd show you guys. And again, you can see what I'm doing right there. Those lines, those don't have to be 100% how the figure's going to be. And I'm not sure if I've been talking a little bit here, but if I already mentioned, the whole point of doing this is you're not trying to copy it. You're trying to learn from it and try to get things that you normally wouldn't see when you normally draw. And another thing that I find is really beautiful about doing this sort of thing as well is it increases how fast you work. No longer are you sitting there going, okay, well, how does a rib cage turn in space? How does a bicep look the other way? The thing with these ones is they're so simple and fast. You're not worried too much about the anatomy. I mean, you still need to know how an arm and a torso work, but look how fast you could hammer these out beside your actual page or illustration before you even take it to a final. And you could do a bunch of these, just experimenting things out, before you take it to a final. And that's it's kind of like a mind trick and a training thing that I honestly think a lot of people should do. I know a lot of professionals, they may have been doing this for 5-20 years, and they don't need to do this. They can just bang, hammer out like a traditional superhero standing there, no questions asked. But I find it's good to do this to warm up, keep things fresh and interesting, and like again, just learning new things all the time is always a great thing. In an update news, I suppose, not really anything too crazy going on. There was the Easter weekend. I got to see some family, which was great. And unfortunately, I came home and there'd been a leak in the apartment, and it's causing a little bit of a strain and stress. You got to deal with fixing things and cleaning things and waiting for guys to come in, and I don't know. It makes me just want to wish you could live in a house or a place where literally it was just a bed, some electricity, some heat, and flowing water that wasn't too crazy, just like one pipe, and that's all I need, and a drawing table and a computer, and I'd be set. All these things in life, whether it's a car or you got to get groceries to eat, they're always like distractions. And distractions, actually, that brings up to a good point. That's something I want to talk about. I don't know if I'll talk about it on Thursday this week, or maybe I'll save it for another video, but little tricks and tips that maybe you guys have, and I'll share some that have been working for me to stay focused and not get so distracted. Deadlines are one thing, but sometimes deadlines aren't enough. Yep, so we've got about 2 more minutes left, 3 more minutes. Right now, I'm just flipping through. What I should have done is continue to draw right through. You don't want to start picking and choosing your poses. What that ends up doing, that I find for me, is if I start picking and choosing the poses, I start leaning towards the ones I feel a little bit more safe that I could tackle. And that's not good, especially in this stage. This is like a learning, and you're finding shorthand ways to do things. You actually want to strive to look for those things that you don't normally do, those complicated things, because you're not going to get a chance on your final, on your actual artboard or illustration to tinker around. And if you do, you might start running into speed bumps that are really going to drastically affect how the picture turns out. And let's say if you spent 10 minutes today just doing crazy poses that you don't normally do, and then you get a client saying, hey, could you draw, a girl flying or something, and that might not be something you normally do, and you end up struggling, and it takes you 12 hours to finish that illustration because of all the struggles you're doing. Whereas if you spent 20, 30 minutes like this before you actually tackled the drawing, it might only take you 8 hours, 10 hours. I mean, time's money in what we do, and you can't pick and choose too much. So hopefully in saying this, I'll actually learn my own lesson here in future videos. And what I think I should do in the next time too is I'll have the actual image that I'm drawing from beside me anyway, so we can see it. That way you can see as I'm going the lines that I'm picking out here. And just a couple more. This one, it was a boy, but the way the camera was, it was as if the camera was on the ground, so you're going to be looking up at him. So it's a little bit more complicated, and you'll notice with the hips, sometimes I'll do like a V shape and two circles on either side of the V shape. It kind of reminds me of, kind of like if you think of underwear, or literally a triangle, and a 3D triangle anyway, and just, carving out circular sockets where the legs would pop out on the side. But in this, what I did is it's a cube, and I think it's one of the more primitive way of learning. It's one of the earlier things that you do when you learn how to draw pelvises that connect to torsos. And all you need to do is just draw the leg coming literally right down the side. And in complex perspective like this, perspective issues, you can get much worse than this. But if you're ever in a situation where you're not sure how a ball is going to fit in here, or how close the torso should be to a pelvis or an arm or something like that, for me, always it'll help, no matter what, is if you get a piece of paper on the side of what you're doing and you literally break it down into a cube or a rectangle. So if it's a forearm coming at you and you're like, I'm not sure where the muscles are going to line up and things, if you broke that down into a rectangle in perspective to how everything else is related, all the work's, the mind job anyway, has already been done, and you can just start throwing the muscles on there. Anyway, so the movie's coming to a close. Thanks for watching. You can get a hold of me on Twitter. My username is ArtByJar. Don't forget to check the website out at jonathanrector.com. And also, don't forget to subscribe and keep yourself up to date with the videos. Have an awesome week, my friends. Keep the lead and silences burning, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.